Hello, guys, and welcome back to the podcast. This is Paint the Town Dead, and I am one half of your host, Caitlin.
And I'm Andrew. I'm over here. I'm the other one.
You're over there, and it's a little early in the morning because Andrew was very smart.
We're gonna get snowed.
Yeah, we're gonna get snowed in, and Andrew was like, "Hey, why don't we have an episode ready early? Because we probably won't be able to record otherwise."
For like a week.
Yeah, I was like, "Yeah, great idea." And then I didn't get it done last night until very, very late. So we're like, yeah, we'll record it in the morning. It's fine.
It's an early morning one. I'm working on it.
Yeah, wake up. Yeah. Wake up. Andrew just down like 3 glasses of water. You okay?
Yeah, just
trying to
thirsty.
wake up. Just trying to wake up.
Trying to be hydrated.
Okay.
That's what the world's about.
Well.
What? Good stuff.
I am also hydrated.
And also, this weather reminds me of one of my favorite pet peeves, which is when somebody's like, "Oh, where I'm from, the weather is way more of this weather than this weather is here." We drive in the
snow all the time. We drive in 12 feet of snow like it's no big deal.
Yeah.
But we don't do that here.
It's not like I go up to Colorado and go like, Oh, your summer? This isn't much of a summer compared to where I'm from. Where I'm from, it's 105 degrees, and that's before the humidity, which is 117% somehow.
Yes, and I do like how people from LA, I hear it all the time on podcasts and stuff.
They can't deal with rain.
Yeah, and they're like, it's 70 degrees. It is so cold, and I'm like, really? That is a balmy temperature. That's delightful.
Weather is mostly relative.
It is.
Unless you're in like Winnipeg where it's negative 40.
Holy
then you're like,
cow.
Then you're like,
yeah, that's cold. That's cold.
That's universally acceptable as being too cold, even if you're from there.
We are also in Fahrenheit here.
Yeah, the temperature I was quoting was actually in Celsius.
No way.
I saw it, negative 40, which I don't know how that relates. I think it's negative 33 is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit or something like that.
Weird.
So, whatever that means.
I don't know.
Actually, you know what? I saw 40 above picture where it was so hot in Australia.
Yeah.
It was in Melbourne.
Here's how I know that
the tram tracks were like buckling.
Melting?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Warping, I guess.
Yeah, it was warped.
Here's how I kind of keep my relative temperatures in Celsius. It's because I know that I think it's 36.7 or 37.6 or something like that is 98.6 is normal body temperature. That's the only reference I have. So when you said it was 40, I was like, yeah, that's over 98 degrees, so it must be hot.
Yeah, I think, it's always weird when they do Celsius and they're like, it's a heat wave in France. It's 35. I'm like, I don't know what that means.
I wish it was.
It's like, that'd be really warm here right now relative to the like 20.
But even still, like 90, you're like, yeah, that's fine. Whereas we literally have triple-digit temperatures here sometimes with 117% humidity.
Right.
That's what I love about the Southwest is like
the lack of humidity.
You've been there, yeah, you've been there. Yeah, it's not humid, so it's still hot. Like you could tell it's hot, but it like doesn't cling to every surface and suffocate you.
But
like,
then sometimes there are extremes where Phoenix is like 115, and it's like, humidity or not, that's too many.
It's a little toasty.
It's too many degrees. It's like
don't go outside.
It's like King of the Hill when they go to Phoenix and they're like 115. That can't be right. They step outside and they're just like, oh God, it's like being on the sun. And I think it's Peggy says this city stands as a monument to man's hubris, or something like that, or arrogance against God, something like that.
That's so good. Also, I just googled it. It's just 37 degrees Celsius is normal body temperature.
Okay. Yeah, so that's a good way. I just thought 0 is the same as 32.
Is it? Okay.
Because it's in Celsius, it's 0 is freezing, 100 is boiling for water.
Well, God, that makes sense.
Yes, doesn't it?
So does metric. You go in tens.
A lot of it does, yeah.
Tens make sense.
Celsius, yeah. Whereas the Fahrenheit guy, he made so basically, as I recall, whoever Celsius is, I think it's a guy. When he came up with his temperatures, he was just like, where does water freeze? Okay, that's 0 on the gauge. Where does it boil? That's 100, and then it'll be incremental between and such. Whereas Fahrenheit, he just marked numbers to start with, and that's how his numbers are 32 and whatever boiling is.
No, it makes way more sense. Celsius makes way more sense.
It sure does.
But yeah,
that's what they use in science. If you're a science man, you have to use Celsius. Even in the U.S., they also use metric. It's part of why they teach you metric.
Well, and you know, drugs,
school.
A lot of drugs are calculated in kilograms, not pounds.
Exactly.
Which it's like, why are we doing the pounds then? Let's just do the kilograms.
Or liters or whatever.
Yeah, we do. We don't
versus
do
gallons.
We do liters, yes, and we do milliliters. Every liquid medicine is dosed in milliliters.
8 ounces in a cup, 16 in a pint, 32 in a quart, 60.
That's so confusing. I still can't remember.
Half gallon, 128 in a regular gallon.
No, just do anyway. That's neither here nor there. But you know what is here? Our episode.
Yes.
Should we talk about it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Andrew, it's a special month because it's heart month. It's cardiac heart month. And it's also, which is, is a big deal for me because I do cardiac stuff. It's also Black History Month. Did you know that?
I did. Also, today's literally Valentine's Day.
Oh, is it? Oh my gosh, it is.
Yeah.
It's a special heart day. Well, we're not talking about a very lovey
about
story.
Valentine's at all.
We're not talking about which the story of St. Valentine's is pretty graphic as well. If you ever want to look that up,
where he got rid of all the snakes.
Did he? I don't know.
I mean, that's the legend, but there were no snakes in Ireland.
Are there no snakes in Ireland?
I'm thinking St. Patrick.
Yeah, you probably are.
I definitely am.
Oh,
I watched St. Patrick's episode of 30 Rock the other day, so that's probably why I was thinking
and they talk
of that.
about it. Oh, okay.
And also because Saint and all that.
Yeah. Anyway, no, he had a pretty graphic death. St. Valentine did.
Well, it's a good thing that he got to have St. Valentine's Day Massacre also named after him.
Oh my gosh,
where,
yes.
like a bunch of gangsters.
We talked about that.
People.
Didn't we?
Why would we have? I don't know.
Oh, with Jelly Bean? Did we not talk about?
No, that was the Kansas City Massacre. That's a different gangster-related gunfight.
Excuse me. You're right.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about gangs today. We are talking about John Carter, who I did not know this story, which it seems kind of like an important part of history, Arkansas history, to kind of know about. I knew nothing about this, never heard about it. So I want to talk about the last lynching that occurred in Arkansas.
Yay.
It's also very dark and also not very lovey, not very Valentine's Day-y, but such is the subject matter of lynchings.
And lots of race history relations between the races in the South. And lots of the world, really.
Yeah,
and that's one of the issues with high school history, even is a lot of times the history you learn is so very vague and just like, it's like there's a civil war and slavery was killed. And then Martin Luther King Jr. delivered a speech. Yeah. I have a dream and racism's dead now. Don't even worry about it.
Here's the truth though. That is not true.
It sure isn't.
And not only that, but this was not that long ago. Like, we've talked about that. We talked about this yesterday, how shockingly not in the past, far back it is that all this happened.
Yeah. I mean, I Have a Dream speech was 1963.
Which is correct. My parents were alive for that.
Yeah.
It's just wild. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about that at the end. But talking about John Carter today. And as I believe Brian Greer from the Encyclopedia of Arkansas put it, this lynching and the rioting that followed is one of the most notorious incidents of racial violence in the state's history. This event reveals much about the history of race relations in Little Rock, as well as the state's struggle with its national image, which is, all that's still very true today. So let's get started talking about John Carter. So background here. On April 12th, 1927, 12-year-old white girl, Floella McDonald, went missing on her way home from the library. And for 3 weeks, family and friends and law enforcement searched for young Floella, but they found neither hide nor hair. There was nothing that they could find about her whereabouts. It's just like she vanished. But after 3 weeks, on April 30th, the janitor, a black man of the Presbyterian church, followed a foul smell up to the bell tower of the church. And there, unfortunately, he found the body of little Floella. She had blunt force trauma to her head from a brick that was found near her body. And the day after her body was found, the janitor's mixed race son, and this was a very dated term that I saw describing his son, and that was a mulatto, quote, mulatto, which is, I believe, an offensive term describing somebody who's half white, half black. But his name was Lonnie Dixon. He was arrested for Floella's rape and murder. And a lot of white people who had been involved with the search became very angry when they found out who was arrested for Floella's rape and murder. And they wanted to take justice into their own hands. This mob grew and included in thousands of people. Like, this mentality just like took hold, and they wanted their justice. So the large mob came over to the county jail where Lonnie was supposedly being held, and they demanded officers turn over Lonnie to them. But Lonnie was not there because, sensing the growing tension, Chief Burl Rottenberry had sent Lonnie to an out-of-town jail. I think it was in Texarkana is what I read. That or Arkadelphia. It was one or the others. I can't remember. I get those towns confused. But they sent Lonnie to that out-of-town jail to keep him safe from the mob because they kind of expected that something like this would happen.
It seems like that happened. This seems after, well, this seems pretty close to the time where that would have been less of a thing. But
yeah, 1927. That's less than 100 years ago.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of when some other stuff happened.
It is kind of hard to keep. It's like a hazy area. I was thinking about dates and stuff too.
Because like Kaiser, they had to move him out of town. Mm-hmm. The guy who was a vet.
Yeah, he was weirdo.
Yeah, they had to move him out of town when they found out he killed his son.
Yeah, and anyways, but that was a good call because the mob did come and demand Lonnie. But the mob never achieved their so-called revenge. But that doesn't mean that their tension and their anger, went down at all. They didn't get their revenge. They're still hyped up and have this crazy mob mentality. So the next month, on May 4th, Mrs. B.E. Stewart and her 17-year-old daughter Glennie were driving a wagon on a rural road on their way to Little Rock when a black man approached them. Now, one account says that the horses were out of control, so the man kind of got up in the wagon, grabbed their reins to help steady them and save the women. But, of course, another account says the man jumped in the wagon, demanded whiskey, and knocked the women to the ground. So, two very, very different accounts of a situation. Either way, a car stopped after the encounter to help the women and drive them to the hospital in Little Rock, and the black man was said to have fled into the woods. Now, when the women returned home, they indicated to their family a black man had jumped on their wagon, which is kind of vague. That could be either of those stories. Is it because he saved them or is it because he attacked them? So I don't know if they were vague with their families, but the families reported it to police. So hearing this, Sheriff Mike Haney organized a posse to search for the man. Hundreds of Little Rock citizens turned up for the search, and the search lasted about 8 hours. And at the end of the 8 hours, 2 officers saw 38-year-old John Carter, who had been described as a, quote, simple man. So there was, and other articles I read said there was question if he was mentally handicapped. So delightful. And this man, John Carter, of course, was black. So the summer of 1926, John had gone to jail for allegedly attacking a white woman with a hammer. And in May of 1927, this is like when police caught up with him that day, John had escaped 4 days prior from a prison work crew, and 4 days prior was the same day that Floella's body was found.
People are just always getting out of prison.
Every single oldie prison person has made a run for it. It must have been a lot more successful back then. All of ours we saw have been recaptured at some point, but
yeah, I think that's right.
It's probably a lot easier to assume a different identity.
You would think so.
Yeah,
because what are they gonna do? Look you up on Facebook?
Yeah, track your fingerprints, track your DNA, I think papers were a lot more easily forged probably because they didn't have the watermarks and the little.
Yeah.
If you look at the driver's license now, there's I can't replicate that.
It seems like there was a point in time where you could have just made a permit like the one Ron makes where it just says I can do what I want.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a point where you could do something like that and then sign whatever name you want, and
well, this is legit. This holds up.
this signature is probably real. I don't know. I don't have a database to run it through right now. So,
exactly. Just hand him a sheet of paper and it's good enough.
So I guess whatever you wanted, you get to have. Good job.
So I guess, yeah, jail escapes seemed a lot more prevalent back then. But when Glennie Stewart arrived, so the police caught John, and the posse grabbed John and threw him in the back of a car. The posse was declaring that they would not let John be protected by police the way that Lonnie was. So that's scary. And when Glennie Stewart arrived, she identified him as the man who had attacked she and her mother in the wagon. So the mom brought John to a telephone pole and smashed his face with a revolver. They beat him and told him to confess and then to pray. Before he finished, someone put a noose around his neck and told him to climb on top of a car. John was wounded and not able to do so, so the mob pushed him on top of it. When peace officers, I don't know if that's not police officers, but I don't know what peace officers are. Maybe they are some kind of law enforcement. But when peace officers attempted to intervene on John's behalf, they were threatened with their own lives. And thus, men from the ground lifted John off the car by his neck, and then someone drove the car away. And as John was dying, swinging from his neck, a group of 50 men lined up and shot John up with over 200 bullets. It's like, are you kidding me? How can you do that? I mean, it's just that terrible, violent mob mentality, and it's not excusable. So the crowd surrounding John quickly grew to over 400 people. A coroner was summoned, and a grotesque photo was taken of John. He was dead and hanging, which you can find on the internet, but it's very graphic. When the coroner arrived, he was told by the police chief how to document the death. So even with the photo evidence, the coroner was instructed to document that John Carter was, quote, killed by parties unknown in a mob, even though in the photo you can clearly see people's faces in the background. It's like, but they wouldn't identify them. It'd
also probably be hard with photo technology at the time if it's depending on how close shot it was of those people.
They were pretty close around them.
Were they?
I
bet it'd be a lot harder than finding all the terrorists who tried to kill the Congress people and stop democracy from happening.
Yeah. And anyway, so the mob decided that they wanted to bring John's body into Little Rock and burn it. So when they got to the city, they tied John's body to the back of a car and rode around downtown Little Rock for over an hour, which is like down Main Street and past the police headquarters. At around 7 p.m., the car dragging John and the rest of the mob decided to stop at the corner of 9th and Broadway, which is where the heart of the black business district was. Because at this time, there was a white and a black business district.
Right. 1927, segregation still going strong.
Very much so. So they poured gasoline and kerosene all over John's mangled body. They piled tree limbs and church pews from the nearby Bethel African Methodist Episcopal Church, which is an AME church, which is a historically black church. And someone struck the match and lit this massive fire with John in that fire. With all the commotion and word getting out, more people joined the mob, and it grew to over 7,000 people just running around in chaos. And with innocent eyes, we're being forced to watch on, because not only is this a business district, this is also a neighborhood. And so these are black families being forced to watch this horrible thing going on. A lot of people were instructed, don't come outside. A lot of black people were instructed, don't come outside. And so no other innocent lives were taken because everybody stayed inside and away from the gang and the violence. So that was something. But the local sheriff who witnessed the event...
Well, I bet it was also... I mean, it also acted as a scare tactic.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
This is basically like terrorism.
Oh, 100%,
telling them...
Without a doubt. Yeah. This is what's going to happen to you next.
And also, it's like so messed up that, I'm sure a lot of these people are like, I'm a good old Christian boy. Exactly. And it's like, you're going in there...
You're burning somebody's body. You shot up a man.
And you desecrated a church to make it happen.
Exactly.
As part of it. Along with every single little thing is just like, no, you're bad people.
You're a bad person. And the thing is it's like, whether or not John was guilty or not, he did not have the opportunity. Well, it wouldn't have been a fair trial anyways. I can tell you that right now, because it's the South, and the jury would have probably been 100% white men. So, I mean, it wouldn't have been a fair trial for John, but the justice system did not have time to work for him, which, not saying our system is perfect, because it is flawed, but very flawed, but it's up to the justice system to bring forth justice, not a mob of angry racists.
Right.
So the local sheriff, who witnessed the event but did not intervene, is reported to have said, quote, "I never saw a more orderly crowd of hunters in my life," which is disgusting. So Mayor Charles Moyer and Police Chief Rottenberry had fled the city. No one knew of their whereabouts. Major J.A. Pitcock, Chief of Detectives, wanted to bring 50 men and stop the rioting, but the Assistant Chief of Police stated that he couldn't give that order without hearing from the City Council, and the City Council would not convene and act without an order from the mayor. So nothing is happening. There is no stopping of this rioting anywhere.
Sounds like a lot of passing the buck here.
Exactly. And it's just like, somebody pull the trigger, the metaphorical trigger, and stop this crap. So Governor John Martineau was away as well. However, as soon as he heard what was happening, which was about 3 hours later, he activated the National Guard, and they were deployed in Little Rock. So around 10 p.m., the National Guard arrived to the city with guns, bayonets, and tear gas to bring the mob into order. When they arrived, they told the remaining 2,000 to 3,000 people to return home, and most did obey. A fire truck doused the blazing fire, and an ambulance took what remained of John to the local city hall and then to the undertaker. And when asked why he would do this, one mob member said, "They's been too many of these damn N-words getting away with it. It was time folks showed him something." It's like, okay, well, first off, you're a terrible person. Second off, there's nothing to show. Third off, it's not up to you if there is, justice system, not your crazy racist ideas. So people, this is very graphic, but people had already taken pieces of John during the rioting. And one soldier reported that a rioter was directing traffic with the burnt arm torn from John's body, which
is horrifying.
Yes.
And it shows that these people did not see him as a human person.
Exactly. And it's like, it's funny. It's like, that's some graphic stuff happening. Like, that's some psycho crap going on. Anyways, in the days to follow the morbid incident, Martineau and other prominent residents decried the actions of the mob. So the governor, said it was not good. The Little Rock Chamber of Commerce called for the removal of the mayor, the chief of police, and the sheriff, with, of course, no result. Nothing happened. They all got to keep their jobs. A grand jury was convened to investigate the incident, but it deadlocked and was dismissed without issuing any indictments, even though there's photo evidence.
That sounds very on brand.
Yep. So this lynching also received immediate national coverage due to the attention in Arkansas because of the devastating Mississippi River flood of 1927. So apparently there was just this massive big flood of 1927 that just totally desecrated Arkansas.
Yes, we actually talked about it last week.
Oh, did we? It was that one?
That was the one.
Wow.
Where the houseboat ended up in the other town and became the post office.
Look at that. How about that? Bring it all together.
But yeah, there were a lot of
national
journalists
attention
came running through.
So the national attention was already here.
Yeah.
And so then when that happened, it just immediately got national coverage.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of times, like I think some of the Helen Ruth Spence stuff, some of it came about not because of that, but there was like a riot during the Depression over food.
Oh, yeah.
And that brought national attention. And then they also found out about this other thing, which is the Helen Ruth Spence stuff. And they covered that too, because it just happened to happen at the same time.
And then this happens. And so Arkansas is really getting slammed here. Rightfully so, on some accounts.
We're doing a great job.
Yeah, good job, Arkansas. So local leaders became very worried of the national image of Arkansas during that time, clearly, and that a negative image would affect the aid they received for the flood. So, good priorities. As anxiety and fear continued in Little Rock following the incident, many black residents fled the city and the state for that matter in fear of their lives. 2 out-of-state black newspapers were banned from circulation as they feared their versions of the story, which were probably pretty accurate, would increase the already boiling tension. Now, in Lonnie Dixon's case, on May 19th, 1927, so the same year that all this is happening, just a couple days later, really, a jury of what I'm going to assume would probably be a lot of white people, especially men, deliberated for 12 minutes before finding him guilty of killing Floella. He was executed exactly 1 month later, which was his 16th birthday. So not only is it a minor getting executed, but you really had time to do an investigation and justice in a month. And also, you and I have seen the wait times of people on death row.
Yeah. So I assume this is before the state took over executions.
Oh, really?
Because otherwise, I'm pretty sure that would be quicker than Ronald Gene Simmons.
Yeah. That literally from capture to death was 2 months.
Yeah. So,
which we have seen people on some of our stories on death row for 20 years, you know?
Yeah, decades sometimes.
Yeah. Well, Ronald Gene Simmons was only about a year because he wanted it. He waived all his appeals and everything.
Yeah, and he was like the quickest in the state's history, but specifically those, you know.
So when did the state, I assumed that the state would always have, you know.
No, it used to be up to like the counties basically.
Really?
As I understand it.
I did not know that.
Or maybe in the city. I think it was counties though. But yeah, the state took over at some point.
I want to know when did the state, I'm going to Google it real quick.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so tensions remained for years, of course. And when the Central High crisis occurred 25 years later, the scars that had occurred from John's lynching just kind of broke open fresh, and tensions once again just kind of boil forth. And to this day, racial tensions remain in Little Rock. There is a good side of Little Rock and a bad side of Little Rock. And it's a total, you know, oppression of the people by the system. And I mean, it's social problems and things like that. So socioeconomic. Anyway, so like we said earlier, I just want to reiterate how recent all this was. Jim Crow laws were not fully repealed in Arkansas and nationally until 1964. My parents were born before 1964. In fact, they are old enough to probably have memories of going to separate fountains and bathrooms and whatnot, of segregated bathrooms and stuff like that, which is wild for me to think about. Because when you learn about it in history class, it's like, oh yeah, that happened like 100 years ago. And it's like,
yeah,
no, your parents, well, I don't know about your parents, but my parents were alive through this and probably old enough to have memories of it, which is just crazy.
Not only that, but well, when you think of it as a kid, so we're 90s kids.
Yeah.
And the way like I said earlier, when they teach you history, when they teach about like racism in America, it's like,
oh, it was so long ago.
We stopped slavery with Civil War.
Yeah.
And then Martin Luther King delivered his speech.
Yeah. And then racism
was done.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, right, don't do the racism. It's bad.
And some people have forgotten that, number one. Number two, it was so recent. Like my grandpa has clear memories of all this, I'm sure.
Right. And when you're a kid though, yeah, like 1964 when you're you're like 9 years old in 1998, that may as well have been like 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, that's definitely a thing of the past, but
it's not.
When you look at it like on a more grand scale of things, it is not.
Yeah. And the Central High, the Little Rock 9, event, that occurred 1 year before my parents were born. That means just 1 year before my parents were born, Black people were finally allowed to attend, quote, white schools in Arkansas. And that's wild to think about. Before that, white and Black people couldn't go to the same school.
Yeah. The football team of the University of Arkansas that allegedly won a national championship in 1964, all white team. Which is crazy. They were not integrated yet.
Which is just wild. Like that was so recent. That was not long ago.
Nope.
So also, just a side note, Orville Faubus is gross. He was the governor of the time of Little Rock 9, who was like, you can't go to school there. And they're like, watch me. And they did. Good for them. I mean, it was a little hairy there for a while, but they got to go. And
then eventually they just shut the school down instead of letting Black people go there.
Yeah. It's like, oh, great. That's a reasonable.
I believe that's what they did at North Little Rock. they were gonna integrate North Little Rock originally, and
North Little Rock.
yeah, and ended up closing the school instead of integrating. And then they're like, okay, well, we'll integrate Little Rock Central instead.
Well, there you go. That's where Johnny Boy, my John, he went to Central. Anyways, it's a very historic school. Anyway, that's the story of John Carter. Kind of depressing. And some of when I was reading an account, I was like, wow, this is very scary. Because it's very reminiscent of things going on right now. Sorry, I have a frog in my throat. So, anyway.
Yeah, the mob mentality stuff, it's a bad time. And
let's not do it.
Let's not. And also, let's look at human beings as being human beings. That's a good start.
Andrew, you've never said something more true.
Yeah.
Because guess what?
What?
Human beings, they are human beings.
Yeah.
Unless they're not. Unless they're aliens.
Oh, okay. But yeah, that's just how, when you talk about the person using body parts to direct traffic or whatever.
What the heck? That is psycho stuff.
That's like, like a killer from a 70s slasher does that.
Yes.
And that's just an example, again, of how when you treat people as others, an entire group of people as like they are not the same as us, they don't count.
Yes.
It leads to stuff like that.
And that doesn't even just go for, Black people. I feel like something so prevalent right now are Muslims, Muslim people
or Hispanic people.
Hispanic people. It's like
why that guy drove from Dallas to El Paso, which is like an 11-hour drive, to shoot up the Walmart because he wanted to make sure there are enough Mexicans to shoot.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's just and it's like, I don't know if you realize, but these people literally, I know it's so cliche, but it's so cliche literally, but everybody bleeds the same blood. Like there is no, you can receive blood from a Black person or a Hispanic person and you would have it doesn't matter. It makes no difference. Because guess what? We're all people. But if you were to get dog blood, you would get very sick. So
that would be a problem. Yeah. Just the way people treat people who aren't the same ethnicity as a person. And it's not
and
just
Jewish
Black people. It's not Jewish people.
Yeah.
There's many, many years and centuries even of history of that.
Yes.
When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan, as an example of how people usually treat other people who are like them better.
Yeah.
So, the Soviet Union, big old country.
Yeah, huge.
The soldiers from Central Asia invading Afghanistan were less willing to just murder rampantly than the European Russian soldiers. So they started moving them into Afghanistan instead.
Oh.
Pretty messed up when you think about that. But yeah, racism, bad.
Bad. Decry it.
And it goes, if you let it go, it goes to a bad time.
Very bad time. So, anyway. That's our soapbox. I think you know how we feel about things. All right, Andrew. So what you been up to lately? What you been watching? What you looking at?
It's time for our favorite segment.
Oh, boy.
How many Star Warses?
Oh, my God.
How many Star Warses am I looking at?
Are you looking at 4 different ones at one time?
Am I?
Oh, no. Are you?
I'm looking at, I guess technically 1.
Oh, okay.
So far. I started watching Mandalorian just as like again just
for shiggles.
Yeah, kind of just like I'm tired of putting on random comedy as like my random thing.
Speaking of the Mandalorian, what's her face got kicked off?
Yeah.
What's her name?
Gina Carano.
Yeah, that chick. Which you had said, I was like, she's kind of cool, and you're like, she's really racist, and I was like, really?
I was like, I don't know if I said racist. I think it was more like, be on the lookout. Because she said some dicey things before.
Gotcha.
Or tweeted things, and she was also all about like, I'm going to Parler where I can be free speech and where I can talk about wanting to kill Congress and nobody will stop me.
It's like you can't threaten people.
Yeah, so she had said some things that were like, these are red flags and it'll probably get worse. And then it got worse. And then she got fired.
And they're like, yeah, you can't be affiliated with this crap anymore. So I wonder if they'll even like if her character's still important, if they'll even bring her back.
They can just be like, hey, remember when you let that guy out of prison and then he died, quote.
Yeah.
That was bad. You're fired. You don't get to be a Republic officer anymore, and you're in jail. So we never hear about her again.
I mean, sounds good.
They can just do a title crawl, and it says Gina Carano character Cara Dune died on the way back to her planet. Just like they did give her the Poochie treatment.
The Poochie treatment?
Yeah, it's from The Simpsons.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't want to explain it.
Oh, okay. I'll just look it up later.
Yeah. But also, I've finally got the audiobook for The Last Command, which is like the third Thrawn book.
Oh, okay.
But I haven't started it, but that's all the Star Wars, and
oh, it's not too bad.
It's never bad.
Okay. What else you been looking at? Is that it? I have a list of things.
Yeah, that's about it. I could say wrestling.
Oh boy.
But the stuff that I'm finding interesting about the wrestling right now, I don't think anybody would care about.
Oh, okay.
I'll just say, so there's AEW, All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah.
They started working with Impact Wrestling.
Oh.
So it's like two companies working together, which is unusual.
That is weird.
And then now they've brought in New Japan Pro Wrestling
as
part of it.
Oh, boy.
Which has been really cool. Like
forever, or is it just temporary?
It sounds like it's going to be forever. Like New Japan, looked like last night they announced they're going to start working with Impact, which is crazy because they hated Impact. They used to work together, and then New Japan got tired of them.
You know why?
The whole thing.
You know why it's okay now?
Why?
Money. Money makes everything better.
It does. It does. But that stuff's been really interesting. So, I don't know.
I'm happy for you.
Only thing else is WandaVision, which we're going to save for the end.
For the end, yeah.
So we can talk spoilers.
That's right. Okay, so I have seen a couple things. We had a long episode last week, so we didn't talk about any of this, so I'm catching up. I watched a movie on Netflix called The Dig, which has Voldemort and Daisy from The Great Gatsby. That'll be Ralph Fiennes and what's her name? I can't remember. I just blanked. Daisy.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
No.
I don't know who else was in Great Gatsby.
The blonde one. The main character girl.
I don't remember anybody. I never saw that movie. I just know DiCaprio was in it, I think.
Yes, he was.
Okay.
But it was about the uncovery of Anglo-Saxon artifacts in somewhere in England, right around World War II. It was when World War II just like hit England, and it was a slow burner. It was a drama, but it was really well done with great actors, really good ones.
So they're like archaeologists or whatever?
Yes.
Are they fighting Nazis like Indiana Jones?
No,
not interested.
It's not very action filled, but it was a very well done movie. I liked it, and I like that they were uncovering Anglo-Saxon stuff, because they're like, there's no way it could be Anglo-Saxon. It's way too early. Anglo-Saxon stuff over here. It's like, nah, brah. It was Anglo-Saxon. They're like, and it's considered one of the most like prolific and important discoveries of history. And I had no idea about any of it.
Sounds like when they found out the Vikings were in North America before Columbus and crew.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Were you the one that broke that to me last week?
I don't think so.
Then it was John. John broke it to me.
I wouldn't have mentioned that to you.
I was like, no, they were not there. Christopher Columbus was the first like white dude that came. The Native Americans were here, and that's it. And he's like, look it up.
Ever heard of Leif Erikson?
Yeah. I watch SpongeBob. I know.
Exactly. But you don't know anything about him.
Happy Leif Erikson Day. Hinga dinga dorga.
It's just like St. Valentine's Day. I don't know anything about them.
Yeah. I only saw it on Facebook today.
It's a thing I know about.
Did he come to America? Was Leif Erikson?
I think that was him.
Oh, that's pretty cool. How'd they figure that? Where in North America? Was it like Canada?
It would have been to the north, yeah. I believe.
Or if it was like Canada. That's pretty cool. We're going to talk about WandaVision later. Oh!
I'll just say, it says he is thought to have been the first European to set foot on continental North America.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool.
Approximately half a millennium before Christopher Columbus.
That's crazy.
But, yeah.
Who knew? That's wild.
I did.
That's like that. It's pretty crazy. New Zealand's, it's an island, but it's a really big island. It's actually two really big islands. And it was the last island. It was the last place discovered by man on Earth. big place.
Yeah.
Because
as far as we know.
Yeah, because it. Anyways, we talked about this. The South Pacific people, Polynesian type.
Oh, hey, we never corrected me and you, except we were both right about the Rock.
The Rock.
Where you're like, he's Polynesian. I was like, he's Samoan. Samoan is a type of Polynesian. There you go.
Okay, so we're both right.
Yeah,
you were just more specific, which might be the preferred. I think Samoan might be the preferred term, and I'm not sure.
There's a wrestler called Samoa Joe, so I'm going to assume.
Does he make good cookies?
I don't know.
Like the Girl Scout.
He's
cookies.
kind of fat, so maybe. But he's awesome. He rules. I mean, he's not called Polynesian Joe. He's Samoa Joe.
Samoa Joe.
So I don't know.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there. I've been really
It's in Polynesia.
Okay. I've been really into genealogy lately. I bought a subscription to Ancestry.com, and boy, how I found some cool stuff. I've only got back to my dad's side. My dad's. I've gone back on my fraternal side, my dad's dad, and so forth down the line, and I have gotten all the way back to 1686. And to do any more, I have to buy an international subscription to look at stuff over in England. I think I'd go back even further. I found our family crest or coat of arms or whatever you want to call it, which I was like, what? That is the coolest thing ever. Also, my granddad had a brother. I had no idea. I've known my granddad my whole life, and I had no idea he had a brother. I thought he only had sisters.
Maybe you weren't supposed to know.
Well, no, I called my granddad. I was like, did you have a brother? He said, what? I said, did you have a brother? And he said, yeah, of course. And I was like, I have literally never heard you talk about him. Had no idea you had a brother. I've never seen a picture of him. My mind was blown. He has an older brother, but he died back in like 1994 or something. Anyway, found out lots. I think my great grandfather was the founder of the town I am from. He and a guy named Peter, they were founders of the town I'm from. And family came from South Carolina, and before that, Virginia. They came from South Carolina to settle the place in Florida where I'm from. And then from Virginia, way back in the 1700s, 1705 is when my first ancestor was born in the United States. Before it was the United States. It was just the colonies then.
It sure was.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
It was just, I'm just like, I love it. It's just, oh, and get this. Have you ever read The Crucible?
No.
Well, I have a family member that is a main part of that story. And I'm not going to say the name, but it is pretty wild. It was astounding. Okay. At least, I don't know if his character was based off of it or what, but yeah. Okay. I'm watching and reading Outlander. That's what I'm looking at. I'm reading the second book. I'm actually listening to it because, I like audiobooks. But I'm watching the first season of it. It's a little cheesy. It's definitely a historical drama. I don't know if I'll keep watching the show, but I'll keep reading the book because I like the first book.
It just seems like it's a weird sex show.
It's very sexy. I was not expecting all that sexy, but I guess I should have because the book is kind of sexy. But
yeah, that would make sense. Or you could have expected it because of who the audience is.
What I like is that it's Scottish and it talks about like the Jacobite uprising and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool. I like that stuff. The Scottish stuff especially since Sam Heughan, the actor that plays the main character guy.
Yeah.
He's a good looking Scotsman.
I don't think you care that much about Scotland.
Why?
Because you didn't even know their flag was St. Andrew's Cross. Or that the Union Jack was a combination of the English, Scottish, and Old Irish flag, sort of, kind of.
Andrew, this is the stuff that you know. I just know that I like their scenery and their food and their people and their accents.
Sounds like you like a certain type of their people.
What do you mean?
The guy from the show.
oh yeah, I do like him. He is something else.
That seems like when you say I like their people.
No, I like
their hunky boys they got over there.
I like their dancing. Listen, raise your hand if you've ever been to a Scottish festival. Raise your hand. Oh look, it's just me. You have not. Get your hand down.
I've been to a Greek food festival.
I have too. That doesn't mean anything. That is delicious.
It doesn't mean anything.
I love the
I
Greek
literally
food.
just go there and grab food and
It's
go.
amazing. It's great food. That's in Little Rock, the one true city.
That's right. I also went to an Italian food festival in Little Rock.
What? I want that one.
Yeah, it was good. Good stuff.
Anyway, went to a Scottish festival twice. Can't wait to go again after COVID. Go every year. So tell me I don't like Scots. The Scots.
You don't like Scott's tots.
I don't like Scots tots. You are correct.
I saw people talking about how the comparing what the most cringy episode was.
That or Dinner Party?
Well, that dinner party or the Phyllis's wedding.
Oh, that
Like
was
when
pretty
Michael's
bad,
like,
yeah.
for the first time introducing.
Yes.
And it's like, they haven't even finished the thing. And he's just,
I know.
he's being the worst.
It's so bad. It's so cringy. I literally, when it comes to, we're talking about The Office, by the way. When it comes to the Scott's Tots episode, I skip it. I can't watch it. I physically cannot watch it. It's so cringy.
I have that there's an episode of Community. It's one, which I know that doesn't help you, but it's the one where Britta and Jeff get into an argument, basically, or a feud with these like teenagers who are taking like college credit courses while they're in high school.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all, the high schoolers are like real jerks. And it just, it's not a particularly funny episode overall. And also the feud they have is just like so cringy and weird.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's like, I mean, I think we've said it before. My favorite episode of The Office is Dinner Party, hands down. It's comedic genius. It's so uncomfortable and funny. It's amazing. I love the bloopers from it because I don't know how they made it through that episode. How did they make it through? How did they get through it? It's so funny. Anyway.
It seems like it'd be hard to get through a lot of those. Some of the stuff they do.
The bloopers are the best. There was one. Alyssa sent me one. It was a deleted scene blooper thing where Kevin was like, I think it was a pen he had in his mouth and he started choking and and Oscar just came up behind him and just whacked the back of his head and he kind of coughs it out. And in the blooper, he's Kevin Malone. He starts laughing. He's like, I think. And he's like trying not to laugh. And he's like, I think you might have hit me a little too hard. It's like the actor really in real life. Oh, Baumgartner. Kevin Baumgartner?
No idea. Wasn't it like him and Oscar? That's like their real first names. And maybe some of the other.
And Angela.
And
that
Angela.
was her first name. Phyllis?
So,
I feel like Phyllis as well, but maybe not.
So all the accountants for some reason.
That is weird. Yeah. Anyway.
It's also weird when you watch that first season and there's other side characters.
There are. And
all
you're
kinds
like,
of extras.
Who are you? Get out of here. Anywho. Okay, so genealogy. I've been doing genealogy. Love it. Also, just a little, this isn't a brag, but it kind of is. It's also like I've never felt so adult in my life. The last time I felt this adult was when I had a CPA. Also, when I got a beer fridge in the garage. That was a very adult moment. So it's like the epitome adult. It's like to have a beer fridge in your garage. It's pretty cool. I have a financial advisor now.
Yeah, penny bags.
No, no, it's not because I'm wealthy.
Mrs. Pennybags.
It's not because I'm wealthy. It's because I can just hear my dad's voice in my head. Get a financial advisor. Invest your money now. And it's like, okay. So
You're just rich Aunt Pennybags.
I have a very small amount of money I'm giving to a person to say, I would like this to be more money. And I don't know how to do that, but that's this guy's job. So cool.
Pretty sure whenever they release Monopoly for ladies, it's just gonna be a picture of Caitlin.
I wish.
Instead of Uncle Pennybags, it's gonna be Auntie Pennybags.
I wish that I would have won that $1 billion jackpot from the money people, from the, what is that? The lottery. That's what it is. It was some just rando person up in, I think it was North or South Carolina won it, and it's like their life is totally different within a day. It's totally. I mean, they'll never have to work again.
If they're smart.
That person needs a financial advisor. That's the person that really
Yeah.
needs a financial advisor, like to invest their money properly. I don't have that. I don't have that kind of income, but in fact, my income's so little. The guy was like, well, we can meet about every year and a half or so. And I was like, oh, good. So I have nothing is what you're saying. So it doesn't matter. And I was
if we put this dollar into this 0.1%,
you'll have $1 and 2 pennies. Yeah, I think it's a little more than that. But anyway, also watching a new documentary on Netflix. I bet you true crime lovers have seen it. It's the Elisa Lam documentary at the Cecil Hotel, which is a weird case. That was a case that got me interested truly in true crime. Like that I was like fascinated by this case. Do you know that case, Andrew? Elisa Lam?
I don't think so.
I don't want to spoil it in case you don't know, but it is the weirdest. Okay, I'm going to spoil it. Can I spoil it for you?
Absolutely. It happened in real life.
It did. So you can look on the internet. So you've probably seen the video. It's of a girl of Asian descent. I think she was Chinese.
Is this
she's from
the
Canada.
elevator?
Yes, and she's
okay.
Yes, she's in the elevator. She's acting super weird in the elevator. I mean, it's very, very abnormal.
Like it kind of looks like she's running from somebody. Or something.
And then it's like, but then it looks like she's talking to somebody, and then it's weird. It's just her actions are very strange, and then she just disappears, and then she turns up a few weeks later in the water tank on top of the hotel, and she's dead.
Okay,
clearly.
So I do know it.
Yeah, so
I just didn't remember her name.
That's the Elisa Lam, and it's it was just ruled an accidental drowning because there was nothing else to suggest otherwise. But how did she get up there and get all her clothes off and get in the tank? Because her clothes were found floating next to her. And it's like, that's abnormal. That's not normal.
It's definitely not normal. It's definitely very strange.
Very. Anyway, so I'm watching that. It's really good. But now I'm finished with everything I've been looking at the past couple weeks. So we can talk about WandaVision.
Excellent. So let's just say we'll do spoilers for
Straight
episode 6.
Is that it? Yep, it's episode 6.
So first of all, big thing.
You called it.
They had Quicksilver in a dumb old costume.
They did.
For the Halloween thing. I'm so happy.
As soon as it popped up, I was like, oh my gosh, Andrew called it.
Like she said something to him like, you don't even have a costume. And he's like, I was like, he's gonna do it.
He's gonna do it.
So I was pretty excited about that.
And he just zoop got his little costume
automatic 5 out of 5 from me just for that moment.
And it was very, I mean, it uncovered a lot. I feel like Darcy is in the Hex now. We don't know what's going to happen to her.
The joke is that she's going to look like her character from Two Broke Girls.
She might.
Because that would be the right time period, too.
Yes, it would.
Wrong network. I think that's a CBS show, so.
So probably not. Maybe.
I mean, maybe it'll be something similar.
Yeah.
And it'll be like a wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah.
Type thing.
Wanda expanded her Hex a lot. We also found out that Vision cannot survive outside of her Hex. So...
Also, he did not look like the corpse version that we saw for like a half second, that one episode.
Well, but I mean, he was put together then, and it's like, well, I mean, and Pietro, what happens to him? She saw him as well. She got the glimpse of him, and he was dead eyes too.
And also, like, what is he? How is he?
Yes.
Because he knows everything.
He does. Yes.
He's like, you put all this together, you did this and that.
Or is it her that did it? I still think that Agnes is.
Agnes.
Yeah.
Did you notice?
What?
This thing I noticed.
What?
On my own, with my own eyeballs.
Show me. Tell me.
They do the intro, and it's like, starring Wanda Maximoff. And
Agnes, yeah.
It just said Agnes.
Yeah.
No last name.
It's just Agnes, yeah. I saw that.
It's very strange.
It is very strange.
And
I did notice that.
There.
But she was not there during that episode. She was there parked on the outskirts of town.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that's like a red herring situation or something.
Yeah. Also, people on the outskirts of town, that was pretty wild. And Vision, I mean, clearly cannot be controlled by whoever's doing that stuff, unless it's Agnes and she knew he was going to that area.
Yeah, because it's a weird spot for, what's her face, Agnes to end up in.
Yeah, just on the outskirts of town.
Because she even says, like, I was looking for the Halloween thing in the square.
Yeah.
Where everybody else, all the other main characters were.
Yeah, it's like, you know how to get there.
Why are you out here?
And
I'm suspicious, but I don't know.
Yeah. And people on the outskirts of town don't move or do much. They don't have much living.
It seems like it probably revolves around wherever Wanda is at any given point.
Yeah.
So my guess is like...
They kind of come to life the closer she gets.
It's like a vidya game. It's like, oh, you're not anywhere near there, so the game's not going to load in those assets and have it running and stuff because it'll...
Takes energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably so. That's what I think.
But then she also expanded the thing, so is that going to cause it to be more difficult to control for her?
Maybe. And her kids have powers.
Yes.
Also haven't seen if the kids could survive outside of the hex.
Or if they're real, or
Yeah,
what
or
their
if they're
deal
real,
is.
yeah.
And like where'd all these other kids come from, because they previously mentioned there's no kids.
And then suddenly there's a bunch of kids.
Yeah. And Evan Peters Quicksilver even mentions, he's like, there's kids now. That's cool.
Where'd you get the kids from?
How'd you do that?
He's like, you can't lie to me. I'm your brother. So it's like, but are you? Or are you just... Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, I don't know where it's going still.
And
totally.
also, Evan Peters Quicksilver didn't die, did he?
I don't think so. I never saw Dark Phoenix, but I don't think he did.
I did, and I don't recall him dying.
Yeah, they probably made that a big deal.
Yeah.
If he had.
So it's like, how are you going to bring those two together? Like, because you're saying that's like Evan Peters that died.
And Monica Rambeau, her blood's got superpower something going on.
Yep.
It seems like.
And wasn't it you that I was telling? I was like, she's going to be the next Captain Marvel.
Yeah, I already knew that.
But
or that she's.
But they're
whatever.
they're transitioning. They're setting her up to be the next Captain Marvel,
or her sidekick, whatever it is. 'Cause I think she was also another character name. The Captain Marvel name has been used by several characters.
People, yeah, kind of like Spider-Man.
Kind of like Spider-Man. Doesn't seem like Marvel does that as much as DC has. Like, there's been like 50 Green Lanterns, it seems like, and there's been several Flashes and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Outside of like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, which even then there's
alter a little bit.
Yeah, they're usually just the same person.
Yeah, yeah.
Most other people, it seems like is it John Stewart Green Lantern, or is it Hal Jordan, or is it the other guy, or is it the
Willem
other
Dafoe?
guy? Is it Kyle Rayner? Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Brag. So
I would not call that a brag, but whatever.
But yeah,
ladies, if you want to know more, hit me up.
But it was, that's what I was like, oh man, this is the setup here. So they're going to do a whole movie, a whole Captain Marvel movie, and she's going to be the captain.
Or maybe just a show.
Maybe.
I'm curious again if this is going to lead to like, are these going to be the mutants now, or how that's going to work? I saw somebody suggest it could be their version of the Terrigen Mist to create Inhumans, but like they had Inhumans in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they had the TV show Inhumans that nobody watched, and it was real bad.
Was it?
Yeah. So I don't know if they just want to like leave Inhumans behind, because they started pushing Inhumans on like even in comics, and they had a big plan for doing an Inhumans movie.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, it ended up becoming that TV show that was terrible.
Oh, gotcha.
But the big push there was they were like, oh, Inhumans, well, they'll be our version of X-Men because we don't have the movie rights.
Oh, okay.
And
but now they do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was really annoying because like nobody cared about the Inhumans.
Yeah.
And they got pushed a bunch in the comics while the X-Men were kind of sidelined.
Now it's like, let's bring the X-Men back.
Yeah, they've done like big, huge events lately with X-Men.
Yeah.
And the Inhumans are nowhere to be seen because nobody cares.
Let's just forget about them. Forget it happened.
Fun fact, there's a character named Black Bolt.
Black Bolt?
And his, you know how superhero comic book characters have dumb names?
Yeah.
So like his superhero name, Black Bolt, that's basically his real name.
Oh.
His name is like Blackagar Boltagun or something like that.
Oh, that's stupid.
Isn't that the dumbest name you've ever heard?
Blackagar Boltagun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty stupid.
What a weird name.
Yeah. That's about it, though.
I'm trying to think what else even happened.
I'm looking forward to the next episode. I want to see.
Yeah.
Because what she took over the headquarters that everyone was based at and turned it into a carnival. And so I'm curious as to what that's going to be like. And all the agents got turned into clowns, which is kind of funny. So I'm curious
sort of like
as to that's going to be.
And they really pushed hard. Like, Wanda is definitely doing this so hard that I'm like, you're liars.
Yeah. I don't believe you.
Or it's some sort of mixture, or she's
or she's under somebody's control, and then she's doing it.
It's that dang Agnes, I bet.
It is dang Agnes. It's 100% dang Agnes.
Dang it, Agnes.
Because Agnes, that's right. It is. It has to be. I'm convinced. And it's really sad because, like, what if she decides to close up her hex? Then she has to say goodbye to Vision again, and that was heart-wrenching enough in the movies. Jeez. And I hope that doesn't happen. But we'll see.
Maybe Paul Bettany's like, I'm tired of doing this makeup.
No, he was excited. I remember watching an interview, like when they called him to come in for this to tell him about the series. He said, I knew this was them telling me that, my time with Marvel has ended, but, to thank me, and it was going to be bittersweet and it was going to be good. And then they pitched him the show and he's like, yes. So
he's just desperate to have work, because there was a time where he was going to quit acting.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't. Man, he's a great actor. I love Paul Bettany. He's a very classical actor.
He was the voice of Jarvis, the AI.
Yes, he was.
And at some point he was talking about like, I was probably just going to quit acting. And they're like, hey, you want to be this character and be an actual person? I'm like, okay, sure.
I guess so.
And then he ended up in that, he was in Solo.
Was he?
Yeah, he was a bad guy in that.
Paul Bettany?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't watch Solo. That's why I can't think of it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Solo.
It's not that great.
Yeah, that's what I hear. That's why I skipped it.
I would say it's fine. It's probably not as bad as some people make it out to be, but it's also not great.
Okay.
It's kind of whatever.
Yeah.
There's like ideas there.
Okay. Yes, so basically I like Britishmen and I like Scotsmen. Paul Bettany, Sam Heughan, I'm here for it. Also, Paul Bettany's a great actor.
If you say so.
He is. He's an exceptional. I didn't realize the span of his career, really. I remember the first movie I remember seeing Paul Bettany in was A Knight's Tale with Heath Ledger. Do you remember that movie?
I never saw it, but I know of it.
He was in that, and that's that. Whenever I see Paul Bettany, that's who he is. This is his character, who's some kind of like Shakespearean guy. I also didn't realize he was in An Officer and a Gentleman.
I think that's a movie.
Maybe that's it. No, Master and Commander.
Oh, I saw that. I
a-
remember liking it.
An ocean movie?
Yeah.
A ship movie?
Yeah, it's like people doing ship stuff.
Okay, yeah, I think it was that one. He's in that one. That's John's favorite movie, and I haven't seen it. But
I mean, yeah, I don't think it did very well.
oh, really?
Well, because like the end of it, of Master and Commander is very much like, and we're off to do the sequel, and it never came out. It never happened.
It's based off a book series.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'm sure they were like, we're going to do so many more of these. It's going to be real popular. This is like probably the height of Pirates of the Caribbean. So they're just like,
2003, yeah.
they're like more ship stuff from the 1800s or whatever it was.
I'm down with that, though. I love period
Too
pieces.
bad. They only made one.
They did. But Russell Crowe was in it, and Paul Bettany. And, yep. Oh my gosh, Billy Boyd is in it. He plays a hobbit. He plays Pippin.
Okay. I was like, which one?
There's a few.
I mean, I figured it was Merry or Pippin, since
Yeah.
those are like the only ones who are. I couldn't tell you who their actor was.
Billy Boyd is Pippin, and Dominic Monaghan is Mary.
The other one.
Yes. Also British. Actually, I think Billy Boyd is Irish.
Are you sure he's not Australian?
He's Scottish.
Oh.
Okay, I was wrong. Again.
Is he Australian and Lost?
No. Dominic Monaghan, Mary.
That's what I was thinking of.
No, he is English, and
Even in the show?
Yes, but he dates Claire.
Okay. Well, how did he end up in Australia to get on that plane to start with?
His brother moved to Australia.
Okay.
And he was visiting his brother.
You remember so many more details than I do.
I love that show. Also, I started rewatching it at some point, and
Yeah.
I made it through like they're long seasons, and they're hour-long episodes, and there's like 25 episodes in a season, so it's very long. So I made it through the first season, and then I took a break.
Probably smart.
Anyway,
But you can always jump back on.
I might. I probably will.
I've been watching a lot of 30 Rock lately.
You like it?
I sure do. It's a good show.
Well, good.
It doesn't give him enough credit.
Okay.
Yeah. There's just a lot of good, like, one-liners and puns and stuff. There's a lot of good, like, almost dad jokes. There's
almost dad jokes.
Kristen Shaw's in it towards the end.
She's funny. I do like
There's
her.
like the part where she's like, Kenneth, can I talk to you? And he's like, can you? You just did.
Okay.
Kenneth is a very good character.
Is he the tall, skinny one?
It's I guess so.
Yeah.
He's a guy, and he's from Georgia, and he's like wide-eyed, innocent. There's always like weird stuff, and it's like
it's not Donald. Danny Donald.
No, his name is Jack Brayer or something like that.
Oh, that guy. Yes, that guy. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
He's not tall and skinny.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't think he was very tall, but he's skinny.
Okay.
I was just thinking about like.
Oh, you're talking about. See, at first I was thinking you're talking about Community. You're talking about 30 Rock.
Right.
I know, Jack. Okay, yeah.
Donald Glover, who you almost said the name of.
Yeah.
It sounded like
Donald.
he is in like one episode of Community, and he was, or 2 episodes, and he was a writer on it.
Community.
Of 30 Rock. Sorry.
I was like, wait.
Yeah,
oh my God, I'm so confused.
Sorry. Yeah. He was on an episode of 30 Rock or 2.
He's in Community. He's a star.
He's
in
mainly from Community.
Yeah, but he's a writer.
He was a writer on 30 Rock. Yeah.
That's awesome. I also like that Mindy Kaling and BJ Novak who play why am I blanking?
Ryan and Kelly
on The Office. They were prominent writers for The Office, and I love that. Also, Paul Lieberstein, he played Toby.
Oh, and was he a writer?
Yes.
Okay.
He wrote what episode was it? It won an Emmy. I think that was his episode. I'll have to figure it out which one.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, I got nothing else.
All right.
I'm going to go home before it snows.
I was looking out the window behind you. I think it's started to, oh, yep, I see some little flurries. They've begun.
Yeah, I got to go.
Okay, guys.
Kaylin runs through. I'm saying bye. I got to go.
Okay, bye.
I'm out.
Okay, guys. Thanks so much for stopping by and listening to us. We really appreciate it. You can you can catch us on episodes every Tuesday. Andrew will drop them, and you can catch us on Facebook at Paint the Town Dead. You can catch us on Instagram at Paint the Town Dead, all one word. You can catch us on, you can email us at pttdpod@gmail.com. Check us out on Twitter at pttdpod. Be sure to subscribe on everything you can, like everything you can, share everything you can, rate 5 stars wherever you can. Any interaction, positive interaction like that helps us out a lot, and we greatly appreciate it. Guys, we will see you again hopefully next Tuesday. Y'all be safe out there. Goodbye.